Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Michaela Peters. It is indeed New Year's Eve, which is why I'm wearing my New Year's Eve earrings. Now, I don't know. I just made up the fact that these are going to be my New Year's Eve earrings. I have to work at the restaurant today, and I was like, I already have makeup on and did my hair and stuff. Did my hair, as in it's dry. So I may as well do my video because why not? And I was thinking a lot about the whole jealousy thing and how I've been wanting to make a video on this for a long time for why I think jealousy is stupid. And I'm going to tell a bunch of anecdotes as usual because that's my natural style of telling stories. I've been getting a lot of like political questions, and I'm going to just address the fact that I'm like politically neutral and generally just not very interested in politics. I'm maybe interested in economics and financial policies because I feel like those affect me, but I don't really go for like even venturing into how I think, like how political figureheads are going to influence the economy, because I did take a political science class in college, and basically what I learned is that the president is a figurehead and doesn't really accomplish much because there's always gridlock between the two parties in between Congress and the House of Representatives, usually most of the time. I know it's like changed a little bit recently, but it's just like the US government is built in such a way that it's so hard to destabilize it no matter what a president is going to do. So yeah, I don't know. I'm like not interested. That's all I can say. Like, I'm a poor person to give political commentary because A, I don't care about it, and B, I'm not involved with it. So I'm just going to start with that because that was one of the questions that I got like a couple questions like that, I feel like, and I get a lot of those on my Russian channel too, so maybe I need to make that statement there. But anyway, yeah, and my throat is a little bit hoarse still from whatever's going on. Yeah, I started thinking, like, is it COVID? Because nobody cares or really pays attention to COVID anymore. And you're like, is it COVID or is it a cold or a flu? Because COVID's basically a cold/flu. And I feel like half the time when I got COVID, it felt like a cold, half the time it felt like a flu. So I have no idea. But anyway, that's why I have some tea here today, because I stopped drinking coffee. Why? I'm trying to do caffeine detox. Let's leave it at that. Alright, so I've been thinking a lot about this because, as I've explained, one of the qualms that I have with living in the US is I feel like people are constantly comparing themselves to you. And the thing I love about not being in the US is that feels to be less pertinent most of the time, okay, with most of my interactions. Like, I have my high school friends around right now, and they're like wanting to get together. And I'll be pretty honest in admitting that getting together with my high school friends can kind of suck for me sometimes, because while we are all still friends, sometimes it feels like a competition of who is where in life. And one of those friends is like pretty admittedly very competitive. And she's like the only one of her friend group who's married now. So I guess that's cool because she probably feels like she one-upped everybody on that. So good for her. But I don't even know. I think it's certain things with like probably buying a house, getting married. I don't know if people really care about the kids thing as much now. Appearing to have money, vacations, probably stuff like this. Education, how fast you finished your education. Because like I said, when I was a perennial college student, nobody was jealous of me. But now that I'm like a PhD student slash full-time worker, people are like jealous of that because dude, it's like I literally don't know. Okay, so why is jealousy stupid? Because I've always felt like if somebody has something I want, I can simply go get that thing. And people are going to disagree with this. I'm going to tell a story about an example. All right, so back when I was in Finland, like as a student, as a master's student, I was hanging around a bunch of dudes as usual because that's what an engineering university situation looks like. One moment. And I think I said this. I'm like, I think like literally the statement I just made, like I think jealousy is stupid because whatever that person has, I can just go get. So why would I be jealous? And then it's like the one guy goes, well, if he, the other guy in the room, wants my girlfriend, he can't have her because it's my girlfriend. And I'm like, well, does he want the girlfriend or does he want a girlfriend? Like, haha, this is where articles are useful in English and you don't have those in Russian. Although, actually, just kidding, because when Russian people speak English, a lot of times they say this, because this is like the for them. That's how you indicate, like, what is it called? Like when you're God, now I'm thinking in Russian. When you're like pointing at something, that's not exactly what I want to say, but you're trying to indicate a specific, that's the word I'm looking for, specific versus general. Like an apple, like a apple, whatever, you know, one apple versus the apple, the important apple. Okay, so is it a girlfriend or the girlfriend? I guess is what I'm getting at. So I'm like, I don't really. Okay, so first off, there's that question. Second off, I was like, well, that's stupid, because if he decides he wants a girlfriend, he can just go on Tinder and talk to girls until he gets a girlfriend, if like that's what he decides he wants. So I just don't get it, because I'm like, if you want something, just go get the thing that you want. I don't understand why it's so hard, but I guess people have a really hard time following through with the things that they want. Like, I was talking to like, so I had this Vietnamese roommate living in Finland, and like I got the apartment in Finland, and I have the YouTube channel, and she's like, you know, the really cool thing about you is you say you're going to do something and you just go and do it. And I'm like, I don't understand how that's hard. And my mom said something similar to me the other day, where she's like, you know, you set your mind to something and you do that thing. Like right now, I feel like one of my biggest goals, and the thing is, I don't necessarily feel like this is a hard one to admit, because like I recognize I have a desire to be financially well off now. I'm not even sure I'm going to call it wealthy, but like some sense of financial independence, or just you know, being out of debt fully, and feeling like I can support myself fully. Like these are the couple of things that I want to be able to achieve. And the unfortunate thing is I've realized you have to have like a very high degree of financial literacy and savviness to be able to do this. So how have I been doing this? Educating myself a lot via YouTube. Shout out to YouTube. Working, saving my money the best way I know how. And then like all the people who become wealthy, there's like literally three ways. I listened to this today, but crap, I'm forgetting the third one. It's like stocks, real estate, and then there's one more, and I can't remember what it is. Not being in debt, I think. Like that sounds simple, but like not overextending yourself with credit. So yeah, like those ways. And again, it was like out of my desire to own a home at some point. That's where the need for financial literacy came. Like I was driving home from the restaurant yesterday, and I'll be pretty transparent in admitting the fact that the dog maybe wants to sit with me. No, he doesn't. Okay. I make usually like a good shift, like $250. Now, some restaurant workers make a lot more than that. I'm at like a medium income restaurant, let's say. It's not like super high end, but it's not like, you know, a chain restaurant like Fridays or something. I did work there. It was terrible, but not as a waitress, as a hostess. I should have a YouTube video about all my like PTSD from my worst job experiences ever, because that's one of them. One of my times at NASA was one of them. I feel like there's another one. Honestly, there was a time at which this restaurant job was pretty traumatic. But anyway, I make like $250. And I started thinking, I was like, the only thing that is ever going to cause me to quit this job will be when my YouTube channel starts making $250 a day. And I was like, okay, well, what's it going to take to get there? And I still don't have the answer to that yet. But that was like a thought that I had. Like, that's a goal. So, like, my goal is to make $250 a day from YouTube. And I have no idea, like, how that's ever going to happen. And maybe it won't. And that's okay. And maybe my goals will change. Like, I don't think your goals have to be concrete and set in stone. For a while, my goal was just to, like, get into NASA and work on NASA forever. That goal changed once I decided that learning Russian was more important to me. What other goals? I don't know. I didn't think I'd want to get a PhD. I didn't think I'd want to try to immigrate to Finland at some point and establish some sort of permanent residency there. This is still something I'm actively working on, and it's part of why I have this weird lifestyle that I do. So it's just like, it's really hard for me. Like, I've always wanted to do a lot of things, and some people don't like this because they think you're really like all over the place, which is, you know, like a curse of ADHD kind of thing. I was also thinking today about how like starting businesses does excite me, and if I could get some businesses to be successful, that might be a better career path for me than like a traditional employee kind of thing, just because it doesn't make me excited, and sometimes I feel like I'm like not a good enough worker because I'm not like focused enough. To like being very honest, and it sucks because the way to get yourself focused is to be on ADHD meds, which, as I've expressed multiple times, I've had a hard time like actually getting my psychiatrist to give those to me. Ugh, I hate being sick. This is like super annoying. Okay, so going back to so that's one anecdote. The other one's like, I feel like I've become very disappointed in people this year. At the conclusion of the year, I'm going to be pretty honest, it was a rough year. Like, don't get me wrong, there are some cheerleaders who I have, and I appreciate those people more than I can even express with words. But it's like, I think the things I was most disappointed in were, and I'm just going to like call these out, and if you watch this, then you could know it's you. And I'm trying to figure out what point I'm going to, have the courage to say these things to these people. But like, my one aunt was like disappointed, not even disappointed, jealous of like my YouTube success, which is like very minimal at this point. Like, let's be perfectly clear on that. Okay. As I told her, YouTube is not how I make money. Okay. I was like, dressing up in a clown suit and serving people at the restaurant is how I make money. It's not YouTube. Okay. So just because it looks cool that like, oh, my YouTube channel is like mildly successful, like I'm not making that much money off of it. So like, this is kind of a stupid thing to be jealous of because then you have to ask yourself, are you jealous of the money that you think that I'm making from YouTube? Or are you jealous of like the fame or the recognition or, the success supposedly that I have from YouTube because of like the number of subscribers and watch hours and like all that stuff, whatever, like the stats around it. Because there is no like get rich quick scheme, right? It's just like even wealthy people who have the passive income thing still have to like manage those assets. They're not managing themselves. You have to work less for them, but you still have to manage them, right? That's kind of the best way I can explain it. So yeah, and in line with that, like, I was pretty disappointed with that sort of reaction to something that, and I did respond to her, like, I thought you would be happy for me. And she's like, I am happy for you. I'm like, okay, not with that tone of voice. So, like, because then I was really trying to understand, like, what is it? My brother's home, sorry. Okay. What is it that she's jealous of? Like, is it that she's jealous of the success of the channel or the money that she thinks I'm making from the channel? So again, I actually think the important thing with jealousy, like if you feel jealous, right, is to identify what is the thing that you feel jealous of. Because there were like stupid things I feel like I was jealous of when I was younger. Like I was jealous of people with blonde hair, which was dumb because I can obviously just dye my hair blonde, even though I feel like it doesn't look the same. Or people who had long hair. My hair is not like that long, but like people with very long blonde hair. This is like something so stupid, but like this is sincerely something I was jealous of. It doesn't help that like my brother, because he's an albino, he has long hair, and then I like always wanted to be an albino so I could have blonde hair. And he's like, well, I wish I could see. And then I was like, oh, yeah, he's right. So, yeah, be careful what you wish for. I don't know. I'm trying to think what else I feel like I've been jealous of people for. I think I've been jealous of people who have like normal, successful relationships. Although then I started having this realization that, and this is a good point, okay, is like realizing that things do not often appear, or things are not really as they seem or they appear to be. Like, just because somebody's relationship looks happy and successful doesn't mean that on the inside both people are satisfied with it. So that's the other important thing to remember, is like you do not have a very clear understanding of all the things that are going on behind the scenes of what looks successful, whether that is a successful YouTube channel or a successful marriage or a successful relationship or successful whatever thing, insert successful whatever here. So yeah, I would say those things. Like I felt jealous of people maybe who I felt like could actually like be in relationships, and jealous of people with long blonde hair, and maybe jealous of people who are smarter than me. But then I also used to be like, sorry, that's genetics, and like at least you got some other things going for you. I think that's what I told myself. Like I'm very hardworking, and because I've seen a lot of smart people who are like really unmotivated, and then I'm like, well, what's the point? You're literally wasting your gift. So I'm like, at least I'm like smart enough and hardworking enough that I can like, do most of the cool things. So that's cool. I was jealous of people who had immigrant parents and who learned a first language, or who had like a foreign language as a first language, because then they didn't have to, and then they grew up in the US, so they knew English. So then they didn't have to go like waste 10 years of time, effort, and resources on learning a second language that they're still not perfect in. Okay, that's actually the most jealous thing I have. So I'm not saying like jealousy is like a maybe useless emotion, because I think it can help you identify the gaps between where you are and where you want to be. Now, I think the issue becomes when you project whatever that is onto the other person, rather than putting it back on yourself and being like, I realize I'm jealous of this, so like I need to take steps to get there. And it's like, it's super hard because it's like, I think about like my one friend who like is married and has 2 kids, and sometimes I'm like, man, I wish I just did that. But then I'm also like, but then I wouldn't have done the things that I did. But then I'm also like, I don't like get upset or jealous that she has those things. Like, I'm happy for her because she's my friend and I want my friends to like have a good life too. So to me, if you're jealous of people, you don't really like care about that person, because I feel like when you're friends with somebody and they realize that you're jealous of them, like, it doesn't make them feel good, right? So like, I've kind of gotten to this point where I'm like, I'm not going to be able to like change the way the person feels or treats me. So I'm just going to remove myself from the situation, because I'm at a point where I'm like, I don't deserve to be treated like that. Like, I refuse to be treated like that. And, you know, I can call people out on stuff. And to be honest, the more that my confidence is growing, the better I am at being able to do that. Because there's nothing like calling people out to get people to leave you alone. So I've been doing that a lot more recently. But it feels evil, but it's not. It's just being assertive, which is important, right? Like, you need to stand up for yourself. And, you know, I'm just kind of thinking about like next time I end up in one of these situations where, you know, somebody says something rude to me, because the whole thing with my aunt was, it's like, oh, well, you know, your YouTube channel has success because you have more time than most people. And I'm like, first off, that's not true, but I'm not going to defend myself and sit and argue that. But second off, like, that, like, I don't think anybody would appreciate that, because that implies that you're saying that your time is more valuable than somebody else's time. And I don't think that's right. I think that's like selfish, honestly. Yeah. So that was a hard one for me. I'm not going to lie. And the YouTube channel is still far, far from where I want it to be. I don't even know what the vision is, but like, if I can make more money off YouTube, that'd be cool. Like, make YouTube my full-time job, woohoo. And then I could do, oh my god, if I could actually support myself off of YouTube, then I could do my fun business ideas instead. And then I feel like I'd feel more motivated with those than working a regular job. But also at the same time, I feel like I should work a regular job, because it's like, that's what I'm expected to do. And this is really hard too, right? Because like, sometimes the things that you can be jealous of are the things that you feel like you're expected to do. Okay. So the other thing that made me really upset was when I had like one of my lifelong best friends become really jealous of me once I bought the apartment in Finland. Now, maybe this comes from the fact that she wishes she owned property. I think there's like a certain like wishing that she had like more money in her family or something, but this is actually a friend whose parents are like immigrant parents, and I'm like, again, I just said like, man, that's not fair, because then you get to be fluent in another language, and that's not me. So again, it's like, you know, I've never sat there and been like, oh, I'm jealous of you, the fact that like, you know, you speak another language and you didn't have to learn it. Like, I don't see how that's productive. It's also like, why would I begrudge somebody that? I don't know, I just don't get it. But instead of being like, you know, because at this point, like, I got the apartment and it's like I was renting it out, and I came home and I'm working like crazy hours a week, okay, because I'm like trying to pay this thing down. I'm trying to like, you know, get some save, like, I'm trying to do financially savvy things while I'm like young and have some energy. And instead of like, you know, wow, you're working so hard, like, I really admire your example, it's like, oh, well, like, when are you going to finish paying it off? Or like, what's your arrangement with that? Or how much are you paying? And, you know, you go back and forth to evade taxes. And I was like, first off, you are not well versed on the tax code, so I don't think you should speak to things that you don't know. I was like, but second off, like, you know, that's not really your business. I'm not sure that I said it's not your business, because I think that's kind of rude. Even though now I do say that to people, because don't care. But like, again, it was just one of these things where I was like disappointed, because as my friend, like, I thought there would be like a happiness. Or it's like, also, when I look at people who've done things I want to do, I'm like, tell me how you did that. Like, that's so cool. And I like admire the person. I'm like, yes, tell me more. And like, it's so confusing to me when people get like jealous of that kind of stuff. And I feel like one of the other things people have been getting jealous of is like, oh, you work and you travel and you study and you do YouTube. And I'm like, yes, because I want to do those things. Like, it's, again, it is so hard for me to understand, maybe because I'm so focused on like my own, what I'm doing, but I just feel like anybody can do anything they want to do. And if you tell yourself you can't, you're limiting yourself. And like, don't get me wrong, there are days where I feel really trapped and stuck and depressed, and like, I'm never gonna like get all the things that I want in life. And I think that's natural, and that's part of being human. Like, I do have those days. Like, when I come back from Finland, I usually have like a couple day depression because I don't love being here. And then I gotta like try to get myself to be productive again, and then I don't feel super productive, and then I feel like burdened by like, lack of meeting my family's expectations, whatever the heck those are of me, because they feel like they're constantly changing. And then I feel like I have no energy for people, and then all my energy for people gets drained at the restaurant, and then that environment can kind of in some ways be toxic too, even though some of the people I like talking to, and it's cool because I get money from it. But it's like, like I have problems, like everybody has problems. So it's like sitting there being like, oh, I'm jealous of somebody because their life is easier than mine. Well, like, you don't know that, and you don't know what the internal state or experience that somebody's going through feels like. So that's another reason why I feel like this is like stupid, and it just like annoys me. So I don't know. I think like this whole discussion, it's just like it's always been something that's very perplexing for me. And I don't know if I was less this, that, or the other thing, if I would feel differently, or if it's just like kind of the attitude that I was raised with. Like, I don't really, like, I'm going to give a stupid example, like, because now I'm thinking about like how I was raised. Like, I have a mom. Yes. I have an aunt, and like, they're actually half sisters, but my aunt is like super skinny, and my mom is not. Like, my mom's not fat, she's just like not like a toothpick, but my aunt is. And like, my mom growing up was always talking about how she wanted to be skinnier, and like, oh, everything would look so nice on me if I looked more like auntie. But like, never was my mom like mean to my aunt because she was jealous that my aunt was skinnier than her. And I don't know if she's actually jealous that my aunt's skinnier than her. I don't think she like thinks about that and takes that out on her. That'd be like being jealous of every skinny person she's ever seen ever in her life. So that just was not a model that was set for me growing up, whereas I do realize that some people grow up in environments where the parents will kind of like pit maybe the sisters or the brothers or whoever against each other and compare them a lot, and I think maybe those people grow up with a little bit more jealousy. Or if it's just like, if you have a hard time appreciating or being happy with the things that you have and the things that you've accomplished, then maybe that's the other place where jealousy comes from. So I think it is sad. And, this, I have talked about this technically, there's a difference between jealousy and envy. Jealousy is when you're afraid that something you have is going to be taken away from you, whereas envy is wanting something somebody else has. So technically what I'm talking about, yes, in a colloquial sense, we would consider this jealousy, but really what I'm describing is envy. Because you're wanting something that somebody else has that you don't have. But my point is, you can get that thing. You just have to figure out how to bridge the gap between what you want and how to get the thing that you want. And I don't think that, for the most part, anything is impossible, especially at this point in time. And I was just thinking about, it's like, I was like, well, what could you want that you can't get? Like, oh, let's say I want to be a boy, and I'm like, I don't know, man, the world's a weird place. If you decided you were jealous of men, you could be a man if you really wanted to. I'm not advertising that, but I'm just saying, like, I can't even really think of an example at this point in human history of being like, I want this thing and I can't get this thing. Like, yes, things require money. How do you get more money? You work harder. You learn how to manage your money better. You self-educate on financial literacy, and this is how you can get those things. Those things are not impossible to get. Yes, you may have the odds stacked against you. Yes, it may be harder for you to achieve than most people. That does not mean it is not possible. So I guess that's where I'm going to leave that at today, because again, it's a really hard concept for me to understand, but I think that it's an attitude that is like a victim mentality kind of mindset. It's guaranteed to make you unhappy. And if you can just focus on what you already have, how you appreciate it, focus on what your goals are, how to get there, you're probably going to be a happier person for it. And if you're not, then I don't know what to tell you. Go see a therapist. All right, so that's everything I have for today. It's New Year's, so I don't know, I guess Happy New Year or something like that, or enjoy your New Year's. I'm going to be working, so I don't do the whole Happy New Year's. I just get money, so it's cool. All right, well, and it's actually already New Year's in Finland now that I'm looking at the clock, so it's probably already New Year's in Russia, so whatever. But yeah, actually, I'm excited. I'll watch the ball drop on my phone again as usual, and then I'll be like, New Year, cool. Now I gotta remember to not write the wrong year on everything. That's all that does for me. New Year's resolutions? Nope. My life is a whole New Year's resolution because I'm constantly setting goals. Just think about that. All right. Until next time. Bye.